Hey guys, welcome to Brian's Man Cave. So today I'm starting a new kind of a two-parter, if you want to call it that. And it's called Being a Retro Gamer versus Being a Modern Gamer. And the first one is going to be the downsides to being a retro gamer. And then I'll do the follow-up, not sure when, but I'll definitely do a follow-up called the same thing, but the upsides. And it's just a topic that I like to always think about because if I go back to when I was a kid, I mean, when I just called them video games, I think all of us just called them video games, there was no concept of retro gaming, right? It didn't exist. Like you had a computer or you had an Atari or you had a Nintendo and you just played, and then when the new console came out, you might just put that away, get the new one. And as the years go by, obviously, you know, once we hit the PlayStation era, Xbox era, then all these older systems, you know, at this point become like, you know, it's that age of becoming retro, which I know there's a lot of debate on that one too. You know, what's considered retro. Some people say 20 years, some people say 10 years. There's lots of open discussion about it. And so, you know, now we're at this phase where you either identify yourself as a retro gamer or a modern gamer, and then some people are both. I'm not really too heavily into modern gaming myself. My latest system actually is the Wii. You know, and you know the games I bought on it were, you know, like Super Mario Brothers. You know, it's pretty much playing Super Mario Brothers, just fancier graphics and gameplay, and you know things like Impossible Mission, which I've talked about the Commodore 64 version, and I did a playthrough on it. This one I've yet to really get into. I did play it until I completed it though. But the point I'm trying to make is, you know, there is a lot of downsides to being a retro gamer. I mean, obviously you start to miss that want for the new set that comes out, or the new, not set, but new console. So, for instance, the latest thing from Nintendo would be the Switch at this point in time. And, you know, I've looked at it, and I've obviously contemplated it, you know, saying that my latest system is the Wii, and that's going back that's going back, what, probably about 7-8 years ago I bought the Wii, so, I mean, and then we had the Wii U, and now the Switch is out, so, I mean, the Wii is old now. But to me, that was, like, exciting getting a brand new console. And I haven't had that feeling in a while of, you know, oh, the new console's out, I want to get it, I want to get the new games. And, you know, the last time I really had that experience was back in the Nintendo days, Nintendo and Sega days, when you could still buy Nintendo games off the shelf, you could still buy Sega games off the shelf, and I still remember getting a Sega Genesis and being totally excited about it. It's like, all right, you know, I never put down my Nintendo, but I had a Sega Genesis, and it was a lot of fun. The other thing is, issue I would say is, you got to deal with these crazy aftermarket prices. Now, this is what's, I mean, the retro gaming scene has really changed over the years, especially with people like, you know, YouTubers and, you know, people like me who do reviews, and they tend to drive up prices here and there, and the retro gaming world has become a little bit more popular. We even have now all these plug-and-play systems where you can play all the old Nintendo games and stuff like that, and they just get scooped off the shelf, they get scalped for lots of money. And you kind of see how the whole industry has kind of changed. It's grown, and people are really into collecting these old games. In fact, I remember not that long ago I walked into a gaming store not too far from my house. One just opened up, and I was hoping to find some old stuff, but I think the oldest stuff they had was Nintendo. But I was floored by the prices when I was looking at them. I was I couldn't believe seeing prices like $40, $50 on just a Nintendo game. Even on the Super Nintendo, they were like, you know, up to the 60, 70 range. And I was like, you know, that's how much they were when they were brand new. Why am I paying that much just for, you know, a cartridge? I'm paying just a cartridge. You don't get the box, you don't get the manual. It's not new. You know, some kid might have scribbled on it. Whatever. Label could be wrecked. But that's the reality of it. I mean, the prices of these things have soared. And, of course, they're becoming more rare. But, I mean, on the other side, things like Atari, you know, I have my Atari games here. I got a blackjack here. These are like $5 for the average Atari game. So, you know, you can still collect some of the old stuff and not get burned on the prices. Even though there is some collectible games out there like Hero and stuff like that where they do fetch numbers about $50. But, you know, that's definitely a downside. And then the other thing I was just thinking about while I'm looking at these is being a retro gamer obviously limits your I don't want to say the amount because there's a lot, but it does put a limit on what's out there, because now you pretty much are only going to be buying old stuff. You're never going to keep getting new stuff, because unless you start getting into the modern era, there isn't anything. So almost like you can run out of options. But it's a little hard to do that because there is a lot out there. And there's a lot of systems out there. So it really depends on the type of player you are, if you want to collect all the old systems. And I mean, with me, with my collection, I just collect the games I want, the games I like. I don't just try and fill my shelves with every single game. I don't have to get get the full collection of Nintendo or something like that, because I know that the prices would be astronomical, the space involved, and the dedication. Not saying that that's a problem, but I mean, that could be another reason why prices soar, right? Because somebody that does want to collect the full library is going to spend that kind of money to get the full library. But for me, I've never been that way. I've always just wanted to buy games that I enjoyed, maybe games that I knew were out there, but I never owned them, or just games that look interesting. Like for the Atari, there's lots of interesting titles, and you know, but you are limited to what is available for the system. Now that being said, there is homebrew, which are modern people, modern day programmers making newer games for these older systems, which is cool. So you can go into that route as well if you want to. But I mean, that's really the few downsides that I noticed. I mean, really the one part that's the hardest is to know that I'm not going to be able to buy the newest system, because frankly I'm not going to really get into it. I mean, like you saw my choices of Wii games. I mean, I bought well, these are just two examples, and I noticed a lot of them that I bought were they're older titles, or they're even with my PlayStation 2, I was not buying the latest games. I was buying like retro games that played on them, which was silly. So but yeah, I mean, that's just what I wanted to kind of talk about, because I'm sure there's a lot of retro players out there, and they have the same issues. Like they know that their libraries are limited. Some of them want to collect everything. Some of them don't care. Some of them just emulate. And I just wanted to throw some of the issues that I see. Well, not issues, but just some of the downsides to being a retro gamer. I'm sure I could find a lot of upsides to it, but that's going to be on my other video when I decide to make it. Anyways, I'd like to know what you think about retro gaming versus modern gaming, and if you have any downsides to contribute to this video, I'd like to know about it, and put it down in the comments below, and we could just start a little discussion just to talk about retro gaming and collecting retro games. Anyways, hope you liked the video. Hope you subscribe to my channel. Talk to you later.